We have Paul Johnson, Chief Executive Officer for Power Metals Resources, with us today. How are you, Paul?
I'm good, Rob. Thank you. How are you doing?
Yes, not too bad. It's been a while since I last spoke to you, and there's been a lot going on. So I think if we can get an update from you, probably the best way to do it is let's go country by country, shall we?
Okay, sure.
Okay. Um, Botswana, do you want to give us an update? What's happening there?
Yeah, well, Botswana is actually warming up very nicely in terms of the Malopo Farms Complex project. This is a project held by Kalahari Key Mineral Exploration, where Power has an 18.26% shareholding. But we also have a right, by spending $500,000 on exploration and mainly drilling this year, we can earn into a 40% direct project interest, which gives us 51% overall. It's got to a very interesting point. With our partners, Kalahari Key, all sorts of work has been done to identify drill targets for large-scale nickel sulfide potential deposits, and that work has continued over the last year or so since we've been involved. Lots of helicopter airborne electromagnetic work, ground geophysics, and then some AMT, which is aeromagnetotellurics survey work to refine targets. We've got 8 key targets on the properties, 4 key targets for drilling, and we're lining up the drill program with our partners right now. As we announced in the update that's just gone out, we've got contractors that have written to us and provided proposals. Those proposals are being looked through now. They're hoping to finalise a drill contractor, do all the various bits and pieces in the final run-up to drilling, and then announce mobilisation as soon as possible. All these activities, of course, in all jurisdictions are subject to COVID-19 and the various things that can fire up, as it were, with regard to COVID. But pretty much we're comfortable that we're impending on that drill program, and we really want to get cracking because the targets are absolutely superb. The data that's come back from them is significant, and if we're fortunate enough to make a metal discovery, then it can be transformational for the shareholders.
Right. Well, that's Botswana covered. How about Tanzania?
Yeah, well, Tanzania, we're in a similar position, really, with regard to Tanzania. Now, Power Metal Resources has a 35% project interest. Our partners, Katoro Gold PLC, listed in London with the ticker KAT, have 65%. Same kind of thing. They're big nickel sulfide targets at the Haneti project in Tanzania. We're working with our partners to work out what the situation is with rig availability and get confirmation of a drill mobilisation date. And then we're going out doing drilling with Katoro in Tanzania. Again, it's the kind of program that, if it yields decent exploration results, could be transformational for both of our companies. It's particularly interesting for Power because Power also holds 10 million shares in Katoro and has 10 million warrants at 1.25 pence. The Katoro price is considerably above that warrant price and considerably above what we originally paid for the stock about 15, 16 months ago. So we're absolutely delighted because if we get a material set of findings from the drill program, we benefit in terms of our direct project interest, 35%, and we also benefit from what will be, we think, a quite significant uplift in the share price of Katoro. So it's a double whammy for us.
Good to hear it, and that's 2 down. You got further updates to go, so let's talk about the Australian joint venture.
Oh yeah, Australia. We've got a joint venture where we hold 49.9% in an Australian private company, which is Red Rock Australasia Pty Limited. Our partner there with 50.1% is Red Rock Resources PLC, listed on AIM with the ticker RRR, and we've been making great progress on that. We've now got 12 license applications covering 2,188 square kilometres in the Victoria Goldfields, which is one of the hot postcodes, or perhaps the hot postcode at the moment for gold exploration. Huge amounts of interest in the area. The available ground has been pegged into almost like a patchwork quilt of license applications and granted licenses. We've got a significant proportion under application. 3 of our 12 licenses have gone through the mandatory advertising period, and we're working with Earth Resources Victoria, the local regulator, to seek grant of the advertised licenses and also to push out our advertisements on the remainder. We've had detailed review of all of our project areas undertaken by local geologists who are based in Victoria, and we've had 10 historic exploration and target assessment reports sent back. We've released 4 of those reports to the market so far, and there's another 6 to go, which are under review internally, and we will be announcing them shortly. We've also had prepared an NI 43101 technical report, which covers 7 licenses. It's in the final drafting stage. We're expecting to receive it very soon. And that's a big document for us because it really does put the stamp of authority on the license application ground and what is there and the prospectivity and how to move things forward. And it's also an integral document if you're looking at listing, as we are, some or all of the interest in Victoria on a North American stock exchange to help with the financing of the projects going forward and also the crystallization of some value, as it were, on the projects that we have there. There's been some quite dramatic deals in Victoria. We've seen certain companies selling their interests or some rights to part of their interest for quite considerable sums. Lots of Canadian companies involved. We're very keen to make sure that any transactional stuff we do see is significant expenditure going into the ground in Victoria so that the projects can be progressed. We're working actually outside of any potential listing. We're working with various parties at the moment with a view to corporate transactions and potentially external joint ventures in respect to certain licenses as well. So looking at all different options in Victoria, the prospectivity is incredible. I think all of our licenses have extensive historic gold, evidence of gold, whether it be mining operations, historic exploration, drill results, sampling and all that kind of thing. We think for large swathes of our project ground, much of it is underexplored, and we think there are potentially significant gold deposits there. And we're pretty sure, in fairness, it's just a question of can you find them, as it were. But as we've seen recently with the Fosterville gold mine that's owned by Kirkland Lake Gold, a Canadian business, then you are... if you find something significant, then it can be quite a dramatic revaluation of your company. So we're very excited about that, and we're looking at exploration and corporate activities and all sorts of things all at the same time.
Great, and you mentioned Canadian companies, so let's switch to Canada. And what about Silver Peak? Can we get an update?
Oh, Silver Peak, yeah. This is where we have a slightly unusual thing in a sense, because when we'll come on probably to the Alamo Gold projects in due course in Arizona, where we visited in January and did a due diligence site trip. With COVID-19, there were restrictions on travel. We wanted, and we did do this transactional deal, this option over Silver Peak in Canada, which is a silver project in British Columbia. But we couldn't actually go out and do the usual due diligence visits. So instead, we've launched an exploration program that we're funding to get us additional information about the silver prospectivity. This is a former working mine. And if you look at the announcement that we released a month or so ago with regard to this transaction, you see some of the historic grades that have come out of that project. You'll realise that this is a high-grade former working mine. There is huge amounts of interest around and about the listed company arena with regard to silver projects. They're very hard to find a decent silver project that hasn't already been snapped up, and to find it on reasonable commercial terms, which we've been able to achieve here. So the results from the initial exploration program will be with us quite soon. They're literally out on site at the moment, and I'm hoping that those results will demonstrate what we think is an extremely positive silver project, and we can push on, do the deal, take up the option, and start cracking on with some exploration work, proper as it were, in the coming months. So quite exciting and very near term in terms of the release of news to market.
Okay, and switching from silver to gold, what about the Alamo Gold Project?
Alamo, yes. Well, as I mentioned, we went there in January to do a due diligence site trip. And we were working with them for quite some time. Great partners, and they've really been helpful during the COVID-19 situation, which slowed everything down, but enabled us to take a good look at what was there and to design a way forward and a structure of the transaction that was suitable to the circumstances. So we did the deal. We announced the deal in Arizona, and here we can earn up to a 75% project interest by making certain property payments and also spending money on exploration over a number of years. It's a project that attracted attention initially because of gold nuggets found at surface or near surface on the property. And we launched a reconnaissance survey a few weeks ago, and that was basically looking at the key areas where the bulk of the gold nuggets have been found on the property and looking at prospectivity, looking at the extent of our ground and what was potentially within it, and working out in detail what was the best way to take the exploration forward to really move this project on. So the survey work has been completed successfully. We've had the survey reports from the work that was undertaken, and it's being reviewed internally from a technical perspective. And we're working with our local partners with regard to the next stage of exploration to design the program and to get it started as soon as possible. Our aim now is, with all of our projects, where possible, to push them on very rapidly. Now, it's exploration, and across the board, in all of our areas of work, we will not necessarily be successful on everything. In fact, exploration is high risk. But we're in a good position from a financial perspective, so we're able to push on with work. We don't have to leave our projects quietly in abeyance because we don't have the money to develop them. And all of our structures and the deals that we've undertaken have sensible expenditure programs that pretty much we decide if we want to move forward. So we don't have a gun held to our head, and we're not, we don't have to spend vast amounts of money without having any choice. We have a choice, but our programs are well constructed, our costs are sensible and controllable, and we're in a good position financially so that we can move things forward efficiently.
And I'm sure shareholders will be happy to hear that. Speaking of shareholders, they always like to know what's happening with the finance. And you've said previously that you're in a strong financial position. Is this still the case?
Yeah, well, we have taken the view, and I suppose it's quite a dangerous approach. And you see few companies do this, but we've been publishing on a reasonably regular basis where we are financially. And I suppose the truth of that is that you would only do that if you feel a degree of confidence as to where you are and where you're going from a financing perspective. We have working capital, which I've defined in the announcement just as cash and listed investments, which is effectively near cash assets, if you think about it, because you can sell listed investments and you can release the capital if you needed to. But the value of that is £1.6 million at the moment. And that figure hasn't really been going down for a couple of reasons. One, because our financial investments have been going up, and which is always nice. And secondly, because we've had some warrant money coming in a sensible, controlled manner, which has further topped up our bank balances. Now, we don't have vast expenditure and outlay. Our board costs are modest in comparison to most of our peers, and deliberately so, because if people invest money in power metal, they should not be channeling their personal investment in the company into the pockets of directors with excessive salary payments and the like, excessive expense accounts, although it's a bit difficult to travel now. So I'm quite sure that many companies' travel expenses are a bit subdued, shall we say. But so we don't have a dramatic cash burn. And as I said just before, our costs on exploration are controlled, modest, sensible, well thought out and well planned for. So we're pretty comfortable with regard to our cash burn. Ideally, I want to take the company to a position of financial self-sufficiency, so it's not reliant on the markets for these fundraisers. I know the traditional exploration model is to burn cash, then go and raise more money from the market. Now, if you can raise money at higher prices, then that's great, but most companies struggle with that, and they tend to do discounted placings, and they tend to hurt their existing investors. We don't do that. We look after our existing shareholders because we've done financing at the market in the and that's absolutely critical. If we can build to financial self-sustainability so we can fund our own operational costs, that will be even better, because then you don't have to go and raise on the market. It doesn't mean you won't, it just means you don't have to. And when you don't have to, it changes the nature of the terms that you get. So yeah, at the moment things are going well. We have a ton of stuff underway all the time. It's a bit relentless, but at the end of the day, if you want to find a big metal deposit, as I've experienced in other companies, you have to do work on the ground, and that's what we're focused on.
Yeah, and the share price certainly has done, well, it's gone up hugely since we began the lockdown. I know I jumped in at 0.4 and left about 0.6 there, unfortunately, for myself. But,
so you made 50%. I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
so,
it could have been a lot.
So had you have held today, you'd have made 200%. But that's the nature of the markets, and that's the beauty of stocks that, like power, where they start to perform, liquidity increases. This is not a one-way ticket. As directors of companies, and I've been guilty of this myself in the past. You feel almost affronted when people sell your shares, and you think, do they not understand what I'm trying to achieve? But it doesn't matter, because if you're prepared to take money from investors, either in financings or through on-market purchases, buying stock on the market, then that sometimes people want or need to get out the other side, and if they can do so and they can still make some money in the process, that's great. And it's my job is to make that decision of yours to sell at 0.6, and I hope it wasn't the difficult reason, shall we say, but my job is to make that decision look even worse in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, so you're thinking, holy cow, I really should not have sold that stock.
Well, it's been good catching up with you, Paul. Always a pleasure, and I think we covered quite a bit there, probably 5 projects. So undoubtedly, we're going to hear from you soon. So I look forward to that.
That's great. Thanks very much, Rob.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews, and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.